Hello everyone and welcome to Autocrat. This is episode 114, the Golden Age of Priscus.
I don't know why 14 needed so much enunciation, but apparently it did.
Because if I say 14 or 40, you might not be sure which one I've said.
Oh yes, we
14. Which one have I said?
Both.
Good job.
We have not in fact skipped 26 episodes, listeners.
We've now seen an Etruscan son of a Greek man, Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, make himself the 5th, or maybe 6th, king of Rome. It's going to be a detailed one today, so strap in.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you strapped in?
Yes.
We still get nothing from Appian though.
Of course we don't.
Priscus is now king.
Yay!
Victor explicitly says Priscus usurped the kingship. Apparently, Ancus Marcius named him in charge of his kids when he died, which contradicts what we said in episode 113.
Yeah. Then again, there might just be inherent contradictions in the sources, or it might be vague. Point is, he's king.
He was born in about 650 BCE, so he was around 34 years old when he took the crown.
Not bad.
No, not bad. Once he was king, he used the same tactics he had used to get the throne to keep it. He added 100 new people to the Senate in order to tip the scales in favor of his policies, thereby bringing over the Senate and the people to him.
That's craft.
They basically became the king's party, and their families were known as lesser families because of how they got their position.
Yeah.
He added 100 senators, yes, but essentially made them second-rank senators, whereas those Romulus added were first rank.
Right, okay.
However, Tarquin now fought against the Latins, taking Appioli and coming back with booty.
Yes.
The longer version of this followed.
Yeah.
When he became king, he declared war on Appioli, an important Latin city. This is because, once again, the Latins thought their treaty with Ancus Marcius ended when the man died.
Yeah, that's everywhere in history.
2 defeats by Priscus proved them wrong by means of a sword to the face.
Ah!
He besieged Appioli and attacked it in waves, finally taking it and killing most of the people inside.
Oh, that started on a very serious note.
The wives and children of the men were sold as slaves and the city was ransacked. He then destroyed the city and went back home.
Yikes.
He then threw very luxurious games to celebrate, and it was at this point that the Circus Maximus was first thought of.
Alright.
What is the Circus Maximus?
It's basically a chariot racing building in Rome.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, it's made of makeshift raised decks, and Etruscan boxes and horse races provide a show. But later on, yearly games will be held in it.
Alright. Tarquin also granted land around the Forum for stuff such as shops and private buildings. He planned to build a wall around Rome itself.
Ooh.
However, the Sabines attacked while this was being built.
He probably was half crouched with the first brick, thinking, seriously, guys?
I mean, yeah, they weren't expecting that, and the Sabines made it across the river Anio before Roman soldiers could stop them.
Well, yeah, they attacked during lunch break.
Fighting swung both ways for quite some time, but eventually the Sabines fell back, allowing the Romans some breathing space. Tarquin used this breathing space to build up the Roman military further.
Yeah.
We get a bit of an extended version of some of this fighting from Dionysius of Halicarnassus, aka Henry.
Alright, today's Henry. We don't get extended things from Orosius, though. He just says Priscus repeatedly beat the 12 Etruscan powers in battle. That's all he has on him.
Alright, back to Henry.
Yes.
Shortly afterward his initial fighting with Appioli, he fought against Crustumerium, a Latin city which had bent the knee to Romulus.
Remember from episode 101?
I do you?
Yes, I mean I wrote this, so I'm assuming I would do.
But Crustumerium had drifted back over to the Latin side when Priscus took over.
Ah.
He marched out, but when it became clear help wasn't coming, the city opened its gates. Its oldest and most distinguished citizens sought out Priscus and asked for peace, and he granted it. Nobody was killed, and only the ringleaders were banished.
Nice.
That said, he did leave Roman colonists in the city to keep an eye on them.
Ah, less nice. By the way, does Crustumerium always make you think of a crab? It does for me.
No, it makes me think of crust.
Okay, like a bread crust.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he got in so easily. The walls were just made of bread crusts.
Bread crusts, yummy.
Just wait for it to rain. The walls will just melt. With that image...
He similarly defeated the Nometans. They raided, he fought, he won, disarmed them and asked for reparation, yada yada.
Yeah, you get the drill.
He similarly took the defenseless city of Corniculum, killing and enslaving people once again.
I'm spotting a theme here, and the theme is blood and fire.
Yes.
And swords.
Now, the Latins didn't like it when Corniculum was destroyed.
Oh dear.
That wasn't in the curriculum, so that's why they didn't like it.
Did you just make a Corniculum curriculum joke?
Yes.
I like it. I do like it. I'm also mad that I didn't see it coming.
So, they voted to send a group army against Rome. That's gonna go so well, I bet.
Yeah, people working together chaotically always goes well, especially when your opponent has a sword he can shove in your face immediately.
Priscus rushed to meet the raiding party with his light forces, but was too late to stop them raiding, so he retaliated in kind. After a lot of back and forth, the two sides met close to the Fidenae, and after a bloody battle, the Romans won.
It's always Fidenae. They must be getting so fed up of this happening on their doorstep.
With the Latin army having broken down and dissolved in the battle, Priscus went around offering peace to the Latin cities, who were pretty much forced to agree.
Yay, we did it!
However,
not
all of them.
Of course it's not all of them.
After the first few gave in, the Council of Latins became worried that they would all fall prey to Rome. So they voted to keep fighting and send out envoys to the Sabine and the Etruscans.
Yeah, hence those Etruscans Orosius mentioned. Yeah. They're here now.
5 of the Etruscan city and the Sabines offered to help. So an army was assembled and Roman turf was invaded. Priscus had been gathering his strength and rushed out. But he thought attacking everyone at once was a bad idea.
Yeah, it is.
If he fought the Sabines and the Latin at once, he would have to divide his army in two. So he resolved to pick off the Latins first.
He's really doing a Napoleon Bonaparte tactic here. Destroy one half first, then rush at the other.
We get some skirmishes and raiding of the Latin camp after a battle, and then the Etruscans come to reinforce. A second bigger battle was again a Roman victory. This is because, although the left was about to break during the battle, Priscus rushed from the right wing with his cavalry and flanked around the left, charging into the Etruscans and causing a panic rout. The infantry managed to recover and surge forwards, routing the Etruscans' right completely. Priscus then rushed out to pillage the
camp.
After this defeat, Priscus went round the Latin cities again, and this time was met with a much more cooperative and submissive attitude.
You realise now that you didn't say camp, I'm going to have to leave that other bit in there, establishing why I'm saying it.
Yes.
Good.
So, it took a whole lot more Latin territory, and Priscus had his triumph.
Yay!
In other words, I assume a bit of breathing space.
Yeah, so we're going to deal with something that isn't, punching for a bit.
Now, Priscus had a bit of a collision with the augurs.
Not the augurs.
Do tell us.
Well, it's because Romulus had sought out the permission of augurs before building up the military by changing the Roman tribes, and now Priscus wanted to add a 4th tribe named after himself. Because obviously. A renowned augur called Attius Navius stated that the birds needed to be shown this was allowed and could be done. A contemptuous Priscus challenged him to prophesy what needed to happen if you're so smart. This was meant to show the process of augury as being a sham. You could tell Priscus isn't really a devout believer in this whole process. However, Navius realised this based on the signs. Priscus challenged Navius to split a whetstone with a razor. Navius then did it, which is apparently a miracle, taking a big old stone and just a tiny razor down the middle. Basically, Navius showed himself to be superior to the state. Priscus accordingly backed down and didn't reorganise the centuries, but instead just increased how many people were in each of them. The starting 3 now had 600 men apiece as opposed to 300, so we still get the increase in the Roman military. When Navius had shown his power, Priscus built a bronze statue of him, and not only stopped his plans, but in fact made Navius an advisor. Dio also says Priscus introduced the punishment for Vestal Virgins who broke their vow of chastity. They would wall the women up in a chamber after filling it with food, a lamp, and a bed. And then just leave them there.
Okay.
I mean, I guess this makes sense, given that Rhea Ilia was never said to have been killed, but you've seen before, the timeline of when stuff was introduced with regards to Vestal Virgins and otherwise is always a bit wonky. Long story short, we're burying women alive now if they break their vow of chastity.
That's awful.
Now you might be wondering, what about the men who enable this to happen?
Well, actually, I know that they are put in a Y-shaped pole with their necks hanging in the fork.
Yeah. They're then whipped while naked until they die.
Lovely.
Lovely. But anyway, back to actual war-based fighting as opposed to this gruesomeness. Yay!
Yeah. The breathing space was now gone, and the war with the Sabines continued. Rome benefited from the fact that its cavalry forces were bigger. However, it was planning that won the day.
Okay.
There was a pile of dry firewood which was just sitting next to the Anio River, so it was set on the fire.
I meant on fire. You know I meant on fire.
I didn't, sorry.
Oh.
So it was set on fire.
I thought you were just using the opportunity to get a typo jingle out of me. You're not going to get it. It's not happening.
Yes, it is.
He spelled that wrong. He spelled that wrong.
They were sent down the river and became stuck on a bridge across the river, meaning it set on fire.
Of course it did. Bridges are made of wood at this time.
The Sabines struggled with this when they were fighting, but when they routed, the fire stopped them retreating.
Ooh.
Many of them died in the river after leaping into it to run away from the Romans. Their gear floated downstream down the Tiber River to the city of Rome. This demonstrated the Romans had won before they actually received official news. Some say that the cavalry had been on the flanks and, at one point in the battle, when the foot soldiers were being pushed back, rushed at both Sabine flanks. This not only stopped the Sabine push, but routed them.
Nice.
Now, some of the fleeing men got into the hills, but most were pushed by the cavalry into the Tiber. Tarquin pushed hard after his victory, burning captured gear as a tribute to the god Vulcan, and then invading Sabine land. Now, the Sabines knew they could not win another battle, but still they cobbled together some men.
Yeah, they were going to try. They were going to try so hard.
Well, they were beaten again, defeated, and Collatia and its environs were added to Rome.
Collatia. Hold on to that name. It's going to be relevant in future as someone who's been reading ahead.
I'm holding on.
You're holding on to a prop on the desk. That's not the city of Collatia.
Aegirius himself accepted their surrender, and Priscus went back to Rome covered in glory.
Oh yeah, his nephew Aegirius.
Dionysius tells us that this happened earlier, and the other difference here is that he made his nephew Tarquinius Arruns governor for life with absolute authority over the city of Collatia.
Yeah, now there's a bit more to unpack with this, with regards to this person here.
Okay, to tell.
Dionysius says that this man, Tarquinius Arruns, was born after the deaths of both his father and his grandfather. This is Aegirius, son of Arruns, son of Demaratus, who we mentioned in episode 112 last time. His name, Aegirius, apparently means the indignant and comes from his disinheritance by Arruns and Demaratus. This is apparently a name commonly given to poor people and beggars by the Romans.
Okay.
That said, he took a new name once he was given command of the city. This name is Collatinus.
Okay.
So he's now, in a way, a bit like Priscus is Lucius Tarquinius Priscus. He is, I think, Arruns Tarquinius Collatinus. Anyway, we now get the last bits of the fighting.
Okay.
Finally, Priscus fought against the Latins and took one town after another off them and their allies, including Crostomerium and Medulia, which we've also mentioned before. Priscus made a favourable peace and returned. And Dionysius' account is a little different and a bit more extensive, so I'll add it here. He says that the year after Priscus' first big victory we mentioned, the Sabines showed up. Both sides stared each other down for a while, but nothing really happened until the following spring. At Fidenae, again, where the Anio meets the Tiber, the Sabines, with Etruscan reinforcements, made camp. The two allies pitched a camp on either side of the river, with a wood bridge built on rafts and boats between them.
And this is why you're the one who says the word camp.
Yes. Priscus himself pitched on a hill near the Anio River, and accordingly came up with a cunning plan, which we've already mentioned before, but we're going to do it again.
Slytherin?
I don't know. He probably would be.
It's cunning.
He is. I feel like Numa Pompilius would have been Hufflepuff.
Okay.
Anyway, Priscus gathered a bunch of vessels and filled them with kindling, so firewood. He then set them alight and floated them downstream, crashing into the bridge. That's that fire we saw earlier. The Sabines rushed out to try and put the fire out, and while they were doing this, Priscus led a dawn attack, routing the camp. That feels unfair. Another column also took the other camp, with the bridge fire having been the agreed signal for the other lot of Romans to start attacking. A truce for 6 years was agreed by the Sabines. So now we've got 2 down in terms of enemies, 1 to go. The Etruscans voted to carry on fighting, angry at their defeat and that Priscus didn't give up hostages when he asked for them. Again, they camped near Fidenae and treacherously seized control of the city. Dionysius does not elaborate on how. Priscus split his army in 2. He himself marched against the Etruscan cities, while Egerius was sent out against Fidenae, although I suppose I should be calling him Collatinus at this point. The result was another win. The Etruscan city of Veii allowed their lands to be plundered, watching helplessly, and for 3 years Priscus made yearly incursions. He then did the same with Caere, C-A-E-R-E, not sure how you pronounce that, beating back an army sent to stop him. He then turned back around and fought a battle and a siege at the now captured city of Fidenae, winning and punishing the ringleaders of the revolt. A final battle at Eretum was the biggest yet between Romans and Etruscans. Suffice to say, it was a Roman win, and the Etruscans sued for peace. Priscus asked them whether they still saw themselves as equals, or whether they were now going to surrender unconditionally, probably sharpening his sword while he asked them. They answered, they would take any fair terms he would give. Please stop sharpening the sword, Priscus, put it down. Priscus replied that he would not enforce a tribute or put garrisons in place, but would allow the Etruscan cities to govern themselves. In return, he would be made sovereign over their cities. This was accepted, the royal insignia of the Etruscan cities being given to Priscus. Priscus asked the Senate and the Roman people if he should in fact accept these honours. They replied that he should, and from then on he always wore the golden crown inlaid with gems, and purple robe and tunic laced with gold, and he would be sitting on an ivory throne and holding a sceptre made of ivory. Very fancy.
Yes, very.
Very king-like, you could say.
Very king-like.
There would also always be 12 lictors holding rods and axes waiting with him where he acted as judge, and would be going in front of him when he travelled.
Bodyguards.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned the lictors before. They're kind of symbolic of the king's power of life and death, given the, literal axes they're holding.
Yeah.
These honours were kept by the subsequent kings and consuls, minus the crown and robe in the latter case, as well as the emperors.
I mean, I was going to say it sounds more emperor-like than king-like.
Yeah. Priscus was also the first to hold an official triumph, copying Etruscan styles. Now, we can always do a bonus episode on how exactly triumphs work, as I don't want this episode to run to, an hour. We have enough to cover on Priscus as it is. He also beat the Sabines again, but we're not going to go into that. It's too much, we're not doing it. Sometimes you can't have everything, especially when a script is already 7 pages. The amount of land Priscus took from the Sabines was apparently not insignificant, according to Eutropius. Anyway, in peacetime, Rome was just as bustling, if not more so, because of Priscus setting the Romans to work and hyping them up. He finally finished that wall, for one. Moreover, sewers were built to ensure areas of Rome with low elevation could drain well enough.
Yeah, that was built in order to clear the low elevation, marshy land of the city and pave the way for the forum to be built.
Yeah.
Pliny, in his natural history, marvels at the sewers more so than the wall or the forum.
Okay.
He finds it very impressive that it is capable of handling Tiber floods and people dragging huge weight on the streets above them. Earthquake may happen, building may fall, but yet the sewers persisted for 700 years at least, basically unbroken.
Wow.
It gives us the story of their construction.
Okay.
Priscus was using the ordinary people of Rome to build it, and apparently it was hard going. People were ending their lives rather than work since it was so difficult.
Wow.
So the king came up with a solution.
I don't think I'm gonna like this solution.
Those who had ended their lives were crucified, so that their fellow citizens could see them and the birds and beasts could, pick at them.
Oh.
So the Roman people were shamed or perhaps motivated to keep working.
Yeah.
The sewers were apparently large enough to allow a wagon full of hay to drive through them.
Yeah. I don't know if they tested that with an actual wagon, but I don't envy the guy who drove through it.
Finally, foundations were placed for a temple to Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill. Priscus had sworn to build a temple when fighting against the Sabines, and so now he started it. He also awarded his son honors when at 13 years old he killed an enemy combatant. This was apparently the start of honouring children of free people like this. Victor doesn't tell us if this was during the Sabine Latin or Old Latin fights.
Yeah, it's just at some point.
Either way, we have a birth date for his son.
Yeah. This son is the one referred to as Tarquin, who we will get to in a future episode. All we know is that the end of Priscus's reign, which comes in 578 BCE, was some time after this, so I'm guessing not that long after. I'm going to arbitrarily say that if this was about a year after, unless another source says something more detailed, his birth would then be in about 592 BCE. I mean, when I asked you, you thought that sometime after might be less than a year, but his birth would be in 592, 591, sometime around then. My Chronicle of the Roman Republic gives him a birth year of 580 BCE. We'll get to the controversy there momentarily, as Dionysius of Halicarnassus, yes, Henry, has something to say about it. So I thought at this point we could diverge a bit to talk about Priscus's actual family, given that we've introduced his son now.
Yeah. Priscus is actually a name that means the elder.
Yep.
So, technically he is Lucius Tarquinius the elder.
Yeah, I've seen Wikipedia call him King Tarquin I as an alternative.
I mean, fair enough. Priscus and Tanaquil had 2 sons, Lucius and Arruns. By the way, Henry paused here to say that the son of Priscus, Lucius and Arruns, were in fact his sons and not his grandsons, as some other authors such as Fabius say.
Fabius is a lost source, by the way.
Okay, so how do we know what he says?
Well, because Dionysius tells us that some people, like Fabius Pictor, say that they were his grandsons, and he actually goes into a great length to talk about the fact they were in fact his sons, thank you.
I like how people argue about imaginary people.
Yeah, well, people do that all the time, even now, with like fandoms and stuff like that.
Yeah. He also tells us that Priscus was around 25 when he left Etruria.
Yeah.
Excitingly, that's so exciting, this gives us a date for this move at around 625 BCE.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Exciting.
Yeah.
It then says that he arrived in the 1st or 8th year of Ancus Marcius, so 616 or 608 BCE. But our chronology contradicts this.
Yeah, I'll try and figure all of this out at some point, and if I do, I'll put it on our website.
He definitely was sent out to lead the cavalry in the fight against the Latins in the 9th year of Ancus' reign, so it's 607 BCE.
Yeah. Again, that gives us another date to work with when it comes to fixing when exactly Priscus and his family were alive. Alive, quote unquote, they're legendary. Henry then does the maths and concludes that Tarquin died at the age of about 80, when Tanaquil was, say, around 75, as she is estimated to be 5 years younger, so born in 645 BCE. He then says that even if we're pushing it, and the second son was born when she was 50, the second son would have been 25 at most when Priscus died, and Lucius could not have been less than 27 years old.
That gives us an actual sibling gap.
Yeah, 2 years. Either way, he says they can't have been the children who were left behind when Priscus died. Dionysius is equally baffled why the events of next episode happen, given that the sons of Tanaquil and Priscus were adults and not small children, but we'll get to that. It's messy, it's complicated. However, all of this to say, this does tell us that Tarquin, or Lucius Jr., the elder son, is probably close to an adult. I'm going to rule on all of this and say that Lucius Tarquinius was born in 591 BCE and Arruns Tarquinius was born in 589. Someone needs to make a final ruling. I'm using the primary sources. There it is.
Alright.
Especially given what happens in later decades, we need Lucius to still be, physically fit in a few decades' time, let's say.
Okay.
Anyway, Priscus also had a daughter called Tarquinia, who married a certain Brutus.
Okay.
That family might be relevant later. He also had another daughter.
What was her name?
Tarquinia.
Oh.
Yep, it's just her father's surname. She married somebody we introduce next time.
Oh.
Cliffhanger. He also had an adoptive son, but again, we'll get to that next time.
Ooh.
There's also some more historiography to unpack here at the end of our episode in terms of the Tarquins. There may have only been one King Tarquin initially. Then, as the legend of Roman history was constructed, the two were separated out as the 5th and 7th kings. And they were also conflated in terms of their achievements, i.e. one is said to start a load of projects and the other is said to finish them. Moreover, Priscus's Greek connections, in his father Demaratus of Corinth, may actually be an invention by the Greeks to highlight their connection to Rome. We spoke about this kind of cultural retconning in connection with the Etruscans in episode 85, and also with the Aeneid itself, existing, with Aeneas being connected back to Greek mythology. Anyway, we've now mostly dealt with the reign of Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, 5th king of Rome. Impressed?
I am, yeah. You've ruled for 38 years between 616 and 578 BCE. The order of stuff might be different between different versions, but we get the general picture.
Yeah.
However, we will leave the story of what happens next for, the next episode. And just as a warning, It gets very, very messy.
It does indeed. But that will be next time. For now, we will leave Priscus and his happy family of 4 kids.
I am warning you.
Oh, you are warning me?
It will get messy.
Oh no. Have a good week, everyone.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Hope you enjoy.
I'm kind of scared of you.
That's okay. You have to be scared of me.
Oh.